Hey! How you doing? Welcome back to Hot Pocalypse. Hey, I'm Andy. I'm the dumb one.
I'm Josh. I'm smart sometimes, but not always.
And we are excited to talk to you. We're going to talk to an expert. He's an academic. He knows research. He knows policy. He knows the things about climate and climate change that we need to know.
He is Joe Romm, so stick around.
And we're going to be back with Joe on Hot Pocalypse.
He's a comic who's chronically depressed and thinks we're doomed. He's a renowned climate scientist who crunched the numbers and knows we're doomed. Together, they're hoping to have a good time till it's over and tell you, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die! Hot Pocalypse.
Well, hey, how's it going, Andy?
Good, and we're excited to be here. We know that we're doomed. Since that's how I know it, he actually does the research.
Yeah, I'm a climate scientist who works for NASA, and although I don't speak for NASA on this show, just so we're all aware, I'm speaking for me.
I speak for NASA.
Whoa, who's this? Who's this? Josh, who's our special guest?
We're really excited today. Joe Romm is here in the studio with us. Joe is a climate expert, an energy expert. He is the founder of
ClimateProgress.org.
ClimateProgress.org, yes, okay, good. And was acting Assistant Secretary of Energy for the U.S. Energy Department in the Clinton administration. Right?
2 decades ago, yes. 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
How we miss it. How we miss it.
Kind of like bizarro Rick Perry right here. If Rick Perry knew what he was talking about, he might be a little bit like
maybe.
that.
Right.
We're very excited to have Joe with us. Joe has really covered a lot of ground with his journalism and his advocacy on climate. And we're going to get into it a little bit with Joe just about what's going on right now and what he's concerned about. Joe, there's something that you were working on recently that we were very intrigued by.
Yeah, tell us about hamburgers.
Hamburgers. Well, the right wing has gone like nuts over the Green New Deal and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So every chance they can take to make some bizarre exaggeration, like she's going to take away your hamburgers. But this was about the same time that Trump, called hamburgers in a tweet, so did a post on that. And the main point of it is that, progressives are not going to take your hamburgers away, but conservatives might, because if we don't stop climate change, then we're going to turn the entire Southwest into a desert, and that's not very hospitable to cattle.
Indeed,
wow.
Indeed. So you're saying that the true threat to your Burger King experience isn't the left; it's the right.
Exactly. Doing nothing on climate change is the biggest threat to almost everything you enjoy about life today.
So that's a good catch, all right? Like, when in doubt, climate change is going to screw it out.
Exactly.
All right. That's.
Unless you're a cockroach or one of those, invasive species types.
I do know some cockroaches. I work in the industry.
Yeah, so well, tell us a little bit more about that. So climate change, one of the big threats of climate change is drought, right? The Earth heats up, the oceans rearrange that heat a little bit, and then places that used to get lots of rain stop getting lots of rain, or they get too much rain, and this is a problem, right?
Yeah, no, there's no question global warming is going to mostly be seen through the impact on water. So some places are going to get way too much from sea level rise, but dry areas will get drier. And there's really two things going on. One is some places are going to see less precipitation, but also places are going to be hotter. And when it's hotter, the ground evaporates faster, reservoirs evaporate, streams evaporate. So when you get to like the summertime, there's just no water anywhere. And that, of course, sets up the possibility of the wildfires. So it is the heat and the dryness and the drought that leads to these horrible wildfire seasons we've been seeing.
Boy, and that's really actually apparent in this very neighborhood. Those mountains right up there are green right now because of all the rain that we've been having. That's about to turn brown when the drought comes, and then we get the fires, and we see that cycle actually just in our own little neighborhood right now. But Joe, first of all, I want to say we're hosted by the very kind folks at Being Liberal on their Facebook page. Thanks so much for having us, guys. And please leave comments and questions for us. We really want to have them, and we really want to suck all the knowledge that we possibly can from Joe, and you will help us do that. Anticipating one of those questions, Joe, what is stopping folks from taking these cattle, these livestock that are feeding off of this currently reasonably well-watered area, and moving it to other areas? Why wouldn't that just be oh, we don't need to solve climate change, we can just do it that way?
Well, the problem is we are just going to make less arable land and less fresh water. So everyone's going to be competing for the same thing. So, and it just so happens that, livestock consume a lot of water, use a lot of land. So, we're going to be moving into a world where we have 10 billion people, and we're going to have to feed them with less water and less arable land. So we're going to be driven naturally towards things that are much better per calorie in terms of energy and in terms of water, and that is, going to drive people away from livestock. So that's why I say conservatives are going to take your hamburger away from you.
So, but tell us a little bit. One of our themes for this episode is climate myths. So there's a whole lot of whole lot of misinformation. I know as a climate scientist personally, I look out and I see all this like misinformation coming out, and it starts at the very highest level. So, do you have a favorite like climate myth that you?
My favorite? Well, the one, I mean, obviously, Donald Trump, his favorite is that when it gets a little cold in the wintertime, that somehow that proves climate change is
Right. That just proves the whole thing.
Yeah. And, of course, we have to get
Producer
closer.
Mike.
Producer Mike's bringing us together.
Yes.
We'll sing Kumbaya.
Yes, we can do a selfie.
The Cory
from this
Booker
angle.
of this show.
So, yeah, I mean, the reality is that the seasons change and the temperature difference between summer and winter is very large. The warming is, so far we only have like, 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit type of warming. So obviously, compared to the big changes you get, we're not going to end winter.
Yeah.
We're not going to end winter. But what you're going to do is make the more extreme weather that much more extreme. So the really cold days are going away, but the really hot days are increasing by like a factor of 10 or 100.
Hey, let me ask you guys this. I speak as the unknowledgeable one in this scenario. Let me ask you very learned fellows something about your personal habits. I'm a meat eater. I eat a lot of meat. I'm from Indiana. I'm raised with an unhealthy amount of meat in my diet. And I think about giving it, but it'd be very difficult for me. I mean, boo-hoo, but it would be a tough thing for me to do. Do you guys eat meat, or how do you personally deal with that concern in your life?
Well, yeah. I mean, personally, I still eat meat. I try to eat less. You look great. It's the green screen, friend.
And the girdle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
These Spanx are killing me, you guys.
Oh man, I can't wait to get out of them. But no, I do eat meat and I enjoy it. But I try to eat less. I try and have more vegetables in my diet and stuff like that. But I think personally we should do all those things that we can personally do, but we have to act on the big level too. We have to have policies that push the energy industry in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone should figure out what they can do. I'm not a big meat eater, but for me, it's sort of health, and I think most doctors would say people should eat a little less red meat. I think there's a whole lot of choices that people can make, but the main point is precisely what you just said, which is this is a problem that has to be solved at a national level.
Yes.
And as important as it is for individuals to take action, nobody should feel that their action is the sole determinant of what's going to happen.
Joe, that is a really great point, and I feel like we see that a lot just in sort of the messaging we hear from not from academic sources like yourselves, but from other sources. We tend to hear a lot of, well, you need to be sure that you're separating your cans and your bottles and things like that. That sure, that's good, but it takes us away from things like direct action or activism or voting or the things that could really move the needle, right? I think we might have a comment or a question from the interwebs. Okay, first of all, folks, we all stand somewhere on turtles. It's a controversial topic.
It is. I like turtles too.
mixed about
Yeah, mixed. I think a lot of them have.
I like tortoises. I just can't stand turtles.
You're playing the long game. A lot of them have shell companies, you guys. That's the problem I have with them. You're welcome. Comedy loves me. Michael, I know that's not the only comment or question that we have for us today. Is there another one you got queued up for us?
Here we go. Can you talk about the future, how the future warmer, expanded water being absorbed into plants will be less useful? I understood that the decrease ...
The decreased volume of water made plants less productive.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a biologist, so this isn't my field. But the warmer environment does affect the way plants respirate. They take up actually CO2 and water, and they spit out oxygen, and that's an important part of our whole ecosystem. And warmer temperatures and probably more water vapor in the atmosphere. So as you heat up the air, it holds more water, and that affects plant respiration. And I think exactly how it affects plant respiration is kind of complicated, and maybe there's some studies suggesting that all these changes won't be good, but they will change, and we'll have to adapt to some of this stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, and some of the large-scale changes are a big deal. Like the Amazon is getting these brutal droughts, and it will dry out and burn up, and that will be a radical change. The rainforest will be destroyed by a combination of people chopping down trees, but also the change in the climate.
Pardon me, guys.
Yeah, there we go. So I think this is a great.
Soothes the pain.
I think this is a great segue into our little quiz. So yes, we have a new segment this week. It's called Real Quote, Fake Quote. I think we have a little segment thing coming up for it.
The segment called Real Quote, Fake Quote.
Fake Quote. Yes, Real Quote, Fake Quote.
Wow.
And Real Quote, Fake Quote.
Production value.
Boom. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our guest Joe here through the paces a little bit, and if he succeeds and passes our quiz...
we got a prize for Joe?
Yes,
Great.
if he passes our quiz, you're going to get this beautiful certificate of excuse, saying that Andy and I here believe that you are not entirely responsible for the apocalypse. So.
Partial forgiveness for the end of the world.
My
So
daughter
congratulations.
greatly appreciate that. She can
Suitable
take
for
that to
framing.
show and tell. Point the fingers at the other kids.
That's right.
That's
exactly.
a great plan.
That's its greatest use, probably. So you have this in your future, maybe.
Maybe.
And also.
Also, for our best commenter, we will choose from the comments the finest comment of the day, and from that, that person will receive some forgiveness for their effect on the climate as well. So
That's right.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do the quiz.
Let's do some quizzes, you guys.
So here's what we're going to do. I have a few quotes here from actual politicians, some recent, some a little farther ago. But there is a real quote, and then there is a fake quote. So there is a quote made up by our intern here at Hot Pocalypse.
All right.
All right. So the first one is by Senator Jim Inhofe, famous climate skeptic and denier.
James, I call him.
Yes, James, Uncle James. You remember him?
The snowball guy.
The snowball guy, exactly. That's right. He threw a snowball on the Senate floor.
Oh yeah.
Really rude, I thought.
But it proved that there was no global warming and the problem was solved.
That was. How do you get out of that one?
It's tough. I feel bad for the intern that had to clean up that snowball. Whatever happened to that guy? So here's a quote by Inhofe. So he either said, A, God's still up there. The arrogance of people to think that we, human beings, would be able to change what he is doing in the climate is, to me, outrageous.
That's A.
That's A.
Number one, okay.
Or B, it's the leprechauns. It's getting hot because those little bastards are collecting sunlight to make more rainbows and hide all their gold. They'll never give up their lucky charms. One of those two.
Tough.
Can I phone a friend? I'm just gonna guess.
Just
off the top of my head.
Okay, let's take a look. I think we have the clip here.
My point is, God's still up there. And this is the arrogance of people who think that we, human beings, would be able to change what he is doing in the climate is, to me, outrageous.
James Inhofe.
Boom. Right you are, sir. That is 1 of 1. Good job, Joe.
Is it batting 1,000?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Then I'm retiring.
No, the show's not over, Joe.
We got 2 more of these. You are a long way from winning that prize, sir. So you got a ways to go. Here we go. Okay. So the second one is by the man currently sometimes in the White House, known as Donald Trump. And one of these, he either said, A, if you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations, your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You tell me that one, okay? Erar.
Okay, all right, that's one.
That's one. B, he either said that or he said, if you think global warming is real, congratulations, you probably have cancer. Believe me, E-I-E-I-O.
Boy,
Wow. You have delivered. I hope, by the way, we're doing the wait, don't tell me. I need 2 out of 3.
We get 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
Yes, I will.
I know for a fact about this 75%. Wind turbines, by the way, do not reduce property value. Well studied.
Do not.
Do not. I am going for A.
A. Let's take a look.
If you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations. Your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You tell me that one, okay?
Wow.
Boom.
Wow.
There it is.
Really makes you want to hug a flag.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is
it does.
That is inspiring.
I want to do more to a flag.
Joe's getting racy.
Yes, we could get in trouble. Okay,
have a whole poll done.
we have one more. So far, you have 2/3 of a certificate. There's a potential another 1/3 you could get here. And this one is probably going to be near and dear to your heart because it was said by the current U.S. Secretary of Energy.
Oh, your old department. You must
Yeah.
feel very nostalgic for that. Yeah.
I do, yes.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rick Perry.
Oh.
Yes.
The guy who plays guitar for Aerosmith.
Nope, that's not him.
Joe Perry. Joe Perry.
Right. That's
No,
who-
but this is the guy who got a lot smarter when he put glasses on.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That
So-
did make him brilliant, didn't it? Oh, that worked like
For
hell.
me, so
So Rick Perry either said A, most likely, and this is in relation to a question about climate, most likely the primary control knob is the ocean waters and the this environment that we live in. That's A.
All right.
Or B, he said, most likely the primary control knob is right here between my legs. So it was one of those two.
he could have said either.
It's
let's
really-
just
We don't know.
get that out front.
Rick Perry's capable of anything. That
He
man's
really
a
is.
madman.
He really is.
I'm going to have to go with A.
Okay. A.
Boom!
Let's have
Boom!
a
We
look.
nailed it.
Do you believe CO2 is the primary control knob for the temperature of the Earth and for climate?
No, most likely the primary control knob is the ocean waters and this environment that we live in. I mean,
Joe, number one.
Oh,
Number one.
Wow.
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 Man.
I'm happy to say, Joe, you have gotten all 3 right.
I've looked up your resume. You've gotten a lot of awards in your life, Joe, but this one's
Nothing
important.
like this.
Yeah, fair.
Right. I present this to you, Joe Romm, for your excellence in our Hot Pocalypse quiz.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, thanks.
Yeah.
What do you think this goes
Oh,
for
yeah,
on
hold it up.
eBay?
Yeah, I don't.
bring it up.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, here we
we
go.
Yeah, here. We'll just get it close.
Zoom
Here
in
we go.
on it. Oh, that's the low-tech close-up.
Yes.
Yeah,
There it is. There it is, you guys.
Well, they can see the green screen magic. I hope that didn't blow anyone's illusion. So we will also be giving one of those to our favorite commenter. So please be leaving your comments and questions on the Being Liberal Facebook page. We will be responding to them. Producer Mike's going to be helping us out by pulling those up on the screen. One more round of applause for Joe.
Yeah, thank you,
How
Joe.
about that quiz?
that was incredible. That was
Wow,
incredible.
wow. They said he was learned, and it was true.
It was so true. It was.
And this is not like, I was not given any answer.
You didn't know the minute.
No, that would be unethical.
That's-
Facebook has rules for
That's
these
right.
things.
That's right.
Courtrooms and stuff. And
This is a real video
Movie.
live stream. So I think that our next thing that we're going to do, we've got a lot to get through today. We should
that's right.
move to the
That's
next
right.
to
Yeah.
the skeptical science.
Yeah. So there is a website website that you can check out. So we talked about climate myths. There's this awesome website. If you haven't checked it out, it's called skepticalscience.com. It's run by a guy named John Cook, and he's a really nice guy. And also, he collects the myths that are most commonly propagated and then explains them. And there's a Twitter long explanation, and then a short paragraph, and then a longer thing, and then you can actually go read science papers. It's very, very detailed. It's as detailed as you want it to be.
It's like he's speaking directly to our trolls on the comment page. And hello to our trolls. We love our trolls.
Hey, trolls.
But you can check out this page, and a lot of your questions will be answered.
Yeah.
And there's even an app for your smartphone.
That's right.
So if you're in a conversation with your uncle or whoever it is, and they think, oh, not true,
Not
sorry,
true.
here, let me just show you. Yes, it's a great app. Skeptical Science, John Cook, terrific.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. Yes.
And do we have another comment? Yes, we have another comment.
My question, that is a great question. That's finally one that I can handle. This one is called Big Wave. It's in honor of our oceans that are getting unruly and out of control and starting to actually damage civilization.
Awesome.
Big Wave golden ale, which we also served at my wedding.
Yeah. Cheers.
And some studies suggesting climate change will result in bigger waves.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh.
See, I didn't know
That's a
where
good
Joe was
one.
going with that. I thought
That's
he
a
might
good
be
one.
going with the fact that beer might be damaged by the effects of climate change, but he was going big wave with that.
I was, sorry.
More
yes.
on brand. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
So we have one more thing. If you guys have time, I think we'll leave a link in the comments. Is that right, Producer Mike, to the Straw Man video? So Mike Demanskus, our man behind the camera, yay!
Producer Mike.
He produced a
Very
video
good.
not so long ago with me as a big blue cowboy explaining a bunch of climate myths, debunking a bunch of climate myths. It's called The Straw Men of the Apocalypse. Check it out in the comments, and yeah.
That's a really great video, and I just want to send a quick shout out here to these two gentlemen. One of the things that is tough about this issue of climate is it can be really dry and boring, and it's tough to get your heart into because there's so much data behind it. So we really owe it to folks like this who really get the data and really understand the numbers behind it and are really making an effort to communicate it to the rest of us exactly what kind of emergency we face. We need more folks like this who both know what they're talking about and are finding new ways to say it. So kudos, fellas.
Thank you, Andy, and we thank you for your dick jokes.
You're welcome.
Without which,
if you got a boner, I got a joke about it. You're welcome, everybody.
So I think that's our show today.
Oh man, we learned a lot today,
Yeah,
didn't we,
it was
Josh?
a good one.
What did we learn?
We learned about waves.
We learned about waves.
We learned about Joe.
We learned about Joe and,
Yeah.
and his important contributions. We learned about the fate of hamburgers in future administrations.
Yeah, and we debunked a bunch of climate myths.
We sure did.
Yeah.
I think we did good work here today.
It was fun.
We may all be doomed, but we're making some friends along the way. Hey, let's thank Joe for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Everybody, look, Hot Pocalypse. Check it out on Being Liberal. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube.
HotPocalypse.com.
HotPocalypse.com, probably LinkedIn, all these things. And thank you so much for being with us. This would be silly if you weren't here. We'd just be talking to ourselves. So thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Hope to see you in a future that exists.